So your words really define your experience, your mind, and your ability to communicate. And there was no better orator probably in the world in the 1930s than Hitler. And for all of his hardship and all of his destruction and all of his villainy, he was still a very captivating, very interesting person. And when you look at how he speaks and how he engages, he does a really fascinating job of declaring his intentionalities. So, for instance, if you look at Germany's intentions, right, you look at these concepts and ideas that seem innocuous and benign at the time, but you see how the words ideas indicate his intentionality around unifying Germany, but also projecting Germany onto the world. So you look at these words, and there's lots of action words and movement words and idea words that are identity based. And this is really, really, really fascinating when you look at how things are playing out today in the world, when you look at different speech about identity and concept and unification around these single identities and exclusivity. And it's a really fascinating idea that when people begin to use identifying words that are exclusive to a area, gender, whatever it might be, the exclusionary people might be in for a very tough time, because if you're not part of that identity, you're excluded from that identity, and it becomes very dangerous. Now, if you look at nation, Germany, world, people, nation, these things league, these concepts of unification within a singular identity comes up over and over and over again, which means he has a single-minded concept around what is right and what is going to be aware. Now, if you look at these different elements, you look at time, you look at wish, you look at force, you look at help, you look at order, you look at steel, you look at war, you look at great, you look at peace. These all things have different indications around unification, but that at the same time, when you look at the actual integration of his speech, you see his interest is German, his focus is German, his idea is German, and he wants the world to be German. And I mean, if you look at the word, it even forms a little bit of a mini swastika around the world. You look at nations, Germany, people, Germany, world, also world. It's really fascinating to look at how these come together in a powerful way to indicate his idea of what's important, what he wants to be important, and what the world should think is important. Now, when one places their own well-being and the well-being of what they think is important above everybody else, I mean, you look up here, right, where Germany, and underneath it is man. It's a green Germany underneath man. It really has a really interesting indicator that isn't subtle at all, of Germany above everyone else, nations above everyone else, the Reich above everybody else. And that creates identity, which creates synonymous and cogent want. So if this were to be, say, a corporation, or if this were to be a family, it would really indicate that that person, that company, that way of thinking was that the company's ideals and the company for what it is above everyone else. And whatever the company wanted to do, or whatever people are aimed to think was what is best for the company, then that's what's going to happen, even if it's going to hurt others, because you can justify hurting or harming as well as doing good in the name of the company, which is a really fascinating idea. If you look at this and the intentions, and you were to say, what is Hitler's intentions? I would definitely say he has the intention of making Germany a world power, or even making Germany the world, or in other words, the world Germany, which was his intentions. And even though he didn't outright say it, you can see his words formulate around it. Now, if you look at the declaration of war against the United States, he really comes across as looking at these different definitions, and he uses the word struggle. He uses the word attack. He uses the word force, and these different ideas to really create concepts of this unity, of Germany versus everyone, of Germany being an other, a outsider, a uniqueness. And combined with Germany above everyone and Germany against everyone, it really defines him as a human being, which in 2020 is obvious. But if you were to look at this and see which direction your country was going, or which direction your world was going, it would really indicate the German intentions wouldn't be surprising coming after them, especially when you're using dates and times. And when you look at the word past, when you look at the word taken, when you look at the word what either, when you look at the words lost, these are negative orientating words of defensiveness, of fear, of engaging people to see that they have something lost. And you look at this in the bottom, like, they would rather be dead. That's a really powerful little combination there, that they would rather die than fall to something that's not German, because German is above the British, is above other countries. So if you look at this organization, he's really orientating the mind of the people that he integrates with, and the German people themselves, to see Germany above all else, and Germany standing against everyone else. And German is the height, and therefore must express itself, and must defend itself, and must expand for the world's own good, which is a really fascinating piece of mental jujitsu, that Germany's so important that for the world's own good, they're going to expand, because everybody else has got it wrong. So that's a really fascinating idea. Now, when we pivot to Nelson Mandela, it's a completely different look. It's a completely different awareness. It's a completely different engagement in what we're talking about and what we're doing. The reason for this is you look at the very top. You look at the very top of the Nelson Mandela agreement, and there's of unification. There's no, like, you look at people, you look at mass, you look at country, you look at Africans, you look at democratic, you look at freedom, you look at salute, you engage apartheid, you look at negotiations, you look at millions, you look at action, you look at peace. These words are integrative words. They're not, they're inclusive words, that, Africans is pluralized, not singular. When you look at the future, the salute, the awareness of engaging today, these are words that are engaging the moment today, the struggle that happened to literally salute democratic struggle. It literally says that, the struggle to salute democracy. And in that idea, you really frame your words and you frame your concepts around you're moving towards a democratic national ideal without end. And it literally says that, if you look at it, democratic national ideal without end. It's in there. So when you look at the very top concept, negotiations, when you look at South Africa, and to salute the people, the white apartheid, for peacefully overpower. That's a really powerful statement, because the South Africa should have been a bloodbath. It should have been a bloodbath based on the past. But the way that Nelson Mandela framed his speech and framed his ideas, he created a fine concept of a single nation, and saluted those that did, instead of attacking those that were individuals that were part of the system, he saluted those that were part of the system to change the system from within, and saluted them and rewarded them for it. And that's a really powerful statement. Let me say that again. He's phrasing in this statement how South Africans had given over to the struggle of democracy, and to praise them for it, because they gave it over to the people through negotiations, through engagement, to give that freedom. So he gave the mental concept that these South Africans gave over and changed the system that they were within to be able to have that democratic existence. And that's a real interesting idea, because this is inclusionary, this is engaging, this is bringing people together, where you look at the last slide, it was very unifying or unique, because in South Africa there's many tribes, many peoples. You don't see the word black, or you don't see singular in words except for white South Africans. And this is a very fascinating thing, because it's engaging them in being aware of the future, so that you acknowledge them in their chosen ideal of changing the system, not attacking because they're changing to a democratic system rather than addressing the individuals, which is unfortunately, identity politics rather than system politics. Now, moving to an even greater concept of ideas, you have Malala. Now, this woman was shot in the head by a person in the town, and her concept is familial, meaning she addresses people in a familial way, even outside of her own family. You look at education, you look at brothers, you look at sisters, you look at women, you look at change, everything in this speech resonates with inclusivity at a familial level, even though she's addressing people on a communal level. Let me say that again. She is addressing people on a familial level, even though they're in a communal level. So when she says sisters, when she says children, when she says women, when she says brothers, that doesn't mean her actual individual brothers or sisters. She means the people that are in the country, in the community, and in the world. And you can't get more inclusionary than to say that someone is part of your family that you may not know and have never met, and to include in that way. And these types of words and word usages show the difference between a divisive, identity-driven singularity of exclusionary ideas, meaning identifying a certain concept, such as Germany, moving to a concept of exclusionary to people that have, from dividing the world to integrating and bringing the world together. And you can see the difference in the words, the difference in the conjugations, going from singular and specific to plural and general. And these are really powerful ideas to look at when you look at your culture and you look at the word we use. Are they exclusionary or inclusive? Are they just talking about the identity of a singular concept, which is based on birth or based on something that cannot be changed? Or is it based on inclusionary ideas that draw those together towards a single purpose? Now, Malala is obviously an exception. And when you look at education, change, rights, when you look at addressing people on a familial level, these are what creates change. Because when you think of people as rather than I am X and you are Y, but to say I am X and you are a different form of X on a familial level, it makes it much harder for you to hurt them. Because if I'm German and you're something else and you're trying to hurt me, it makes it very easy for you to hurt them. If I am African and you are African as well, and I see that you're trying to change systemically through the struggle that we're going through together, that makes it inclusionary and a group effort. And if you go to this level of we are all family and we are moving towards a common goal of education, of becoming many, of becoming more, that really becomes an inclusionary effort where everyone feels like they belong on a powerful, pivotal, core level that is person to person and interaction. Because for you to kill your family is a very powerful, very, very hard thing to reckon with, which is what she comes to do. But for you to help your family, usually that's far easier. So when you look at the range of exclusionary identity-based concepts driven to make people do things that are horrible, in the vast scope of the other side of it, where you look at people and the way they behave, and inclusionary concepts that then by inclusion and togetherness. So these can really define your experience as a human being based on the words that you use and how you perceive people, and also how the culture integrates in being aware of, are we using inclusionary words? Are we using general words? Are we using identity exclusionary words? And are they based on a negative or positive range? How you interact with them, but also yourself, and how you perceive others. Because Malala clearly perceives others as brothers and sisters, whereas when you look at Hitler, he perceives people as being German or not German. And those are very powerful distinctions on a very core level that show the power of words and the power of program, and how your emotional disposition can be vastly changed based on that program. I'd like to thank you for your time, and I hope that we can collaborate soon on one of these projects, and maybe do a little test project to see if this has resonance with you or affects you. And if it affects you or really gives insights into how you speak and act, perhaps it might serve your community your project, your business, or even your country. All right. Have a wonderful day.